Chapter 94. Newbie of the Homicide Department 2. He had seen many similar class differences since he was young and knew how to handle them. Also, due to his vigilance, Xu Qing didn't ask the captain about the specific information regarding the person who gave him the token. If the other party wanted to appear, he would naturally appear. If he didn't want to appear, Xu Qing wouldn't force the answer. It shouldn't be because of Grandmother Bei's care. Xu Qing took a deep breath, closed his eyes and began to cultivate. 2 hours later, the sky outside had completely darkened. In the silence, Xu Qing opened his eyes, revealing a hint of hesitation. He could sense that his cultivation speed was much slower than yesterday, and he also knew the reason. If his body was compared to a container, then most of the containers yesterday were empty. Hence, he didn't have to expend any effort to absorb more spirit energy. However, now that the container was filled to the brim, he had no choice but to increase his absorption ability during his cultivation to absorb spirit energy from the outside world. Unless, he'll have to expend any effort to absorb it and allow spirit energy to flow in. However, this requires the density of spirit energy in the outside world to be high. Xu Qing lowered his head and muttered to himself. After that, his right hand formed a seal and he pointed to the deck at the side. Immediately, wherever he pointed to, rays of light would appear and fill the entire boat. It was like an array formation. At that moment, the array formation was clearly in operation, causing the spirit energy from the outside world to flow over continuously despite being slow. This was also the reason why one's cultivation speed would be faster when cultivating on the magic boat compared to the outside world. This was because this array formation was the spirit energy gathering array. I have to increase my power source. Xu Qing seemed to be in deep thought. Through the jade slip on the magic boat, he knew that other than the enhancement from biological materials, there was another important point to the boat's improvement. That was the power source. That was the core of a ship. Like a heart, it determined the power of the ship. It could climb endlessly and was the most expensive part of the exchange. At the start, the power source of all the 7th Peak Disciples' spirit boats was only a spirit energy gathering array. They could slowly absorb the spirit energy in the surroundings and store it as a substitute power source. If a disciple felt that the power wasn't enough, it could also place spirit stones on their own to increase the motivation and the might of the array formation. Other than that, the hearts of some powerful mutated beasts were often the best materials for power sources. The stronger the power, the greater the might of the spirit energy gathering array. At the same time, regardless of whether it was the speed of the ship or its defense, they could be released to the greatest extent. Otherwise, if the power source level wasn't high enough, no matter how good the external configuration was, it would be very difficult to unleash its full potential. At the thought of this, Xu Qing gritted his teeth and took out one of the 10 spirit stones he had and placed it on the array formation. The next moment, the spirit stone disappeared and Xu Qing's magic boat vibrated. As the light from the array formation dazzled, the spirit boat seemed to have turned into a vortex. The spirit energy was denser than before and was forcefully absorbed from all directions. Xu Qing immediately cultivated. This time around, his cultivation speed was clearly much faster. When dawn broke, Xu Qing abruptly opened his eyes and the purple light in his eyes flickered. See Transformation Art, the 6th level. Xu Qing took a deep breath and sensed the 600-foot-long spirit sea in his body. Although it only seemed to be 100 feet longer than before, this 100-foot-long spirit sea covered way more area and contained an even greater depth. Hence, in terms of quantity, it was much larger. The most important thing was that there were many more species and their might that could be transformed. If this continues, in a few more days, the sea transformation art will be able to reach the same realm as the mountains and seas art. Xu Qing was very satisfied with this speed. The only thing he sighed about was that the consumption of cultivation was too great. In just one night, 1 spirit stone was used up. At that moment, the sky was already bright outside. Xu Qing tidied himself up and walked out of the magic boat to head to the homicide department to begin his work for the next day. Working in the homicide department was both a responsibility and a salary. According to the information on the identity token, one would be rewarded with 3,000 contribution points every month. Hence, Xu Qing was very serious. Not long after the sun rose, he arrived at the homicide department. He walked all the way to the Black Division and saw the captain and team members of Team 6. There were more than 20 people in the entire team. There were men and women, and they all had different appearances. Every one of them had extraordinary cultivation fluctuations. They also saw Xu Qing, but most of them were cold and wary of each other. Xu Qing wasn't good at socializing. Hence, he remained silent at the side and maintained a distance from everyone. Very soon, the captain of Team 6 walked out of the room lazily while eating an apple. Today's mission is still to go out and search for the remnants of Night Dove. Therefore, you all shouldn't keep an eye on those wanted criminals. Although there are many rewards, Night Dove is the key to us in the near future. Remember, if you find any clues, don't alert the enemy. When you return, inform the department. The department will arrange for others to investigate the authenticity of the information and make a comprehensive plan. Now, everyone, get to work. After the captain finished speaking, the members of Team 6 dispersed. This time, the captain didn't bring Xu Qing along. Instead, he gave him a jade slip that recorded the wanted criminals and allowed him to act alone. Xu Qing didn't have any objections to this arrangement, so he quickly left the homicide department. He checked the jade slip as he patrolled the city. He didn't know where to patrol, so he imitated what his captain had done yesterday and walked through the port area. He was still vigilant the entire way and even took off his badge. Most of the time, he would appear in dark and inconspicuous locations. In the dark, he looked at the people on the streets who were in a hurry and the various shops that were filled with people. Xu Qing also gained a deeper understanding of the prosperity of the main city. It was only when he saw someone selling candied hawthorns on the way that Xu Qing recalled the yearning he had when he was young. Hence, he went forward and bought a stick of candied hawthorns. After confirming that it was normal, he then ate in the dark while moving forward. He had finished reading all the wanted criminals' jade slips and understood why the captain had reminded the members of Team 6 not to keep targeting the wanted criminal. The rewards inside were extremely generous. The lowest reward was 10 spirit stones, and the highest reward was several hundred spirit stones. It was late in the morning when it was already noon. Xu Qing, who was eating very slowly and had yet to finish his candied fruits, suddenly stopped and looked at the crowd in the distance. As far as the eye could see, there was a woman in very plain clothes, but it couldn't hide her graceful figure. She was skillfully taking to bags from the passing crowd. She seemed to be very confident in her skills. After walking out of the crowd, the corners of this woman's mouth curled up as she revealed a complacent smile. However, when she saw Xu Qing's expressionless face in a corner not far away, her smile froze slightly. Very soon, she put on a shy expression and lowered her head while blushing. She was about to leave when she noticed from the corner of her eyes that Xu Qing was walking toward her. This made her very vigilant, but she still couldn't recognize Xu Qing. However, the instinctive sense of danger caused her to quicken her pace and sway, wanting to enter the crowd to avoid him. However, Xu Qing recognized her. This woman was the one who framed him a few nights ago and took the opportunity to escape. This caused him to have no choice but to kill on the first day. Hence, Xu Qing finished the last bite of the candied fruit in his hand. With a swing of his right hand, the bamboo stick instantly shot out like a bolt of lightning, whistling through the air as it headed straight for the woman. It was so fast that the woman's expression changed drastically and she couldn't dodge in time. Before her body could enter the crowd, her right foot was pierced by the bamboo stick. With a bang, her delicate body was pinned to the ground. A blood-curdling scream immediately rang out from the pale-faced woman's mouth. Accompanied by cries for help, the weak-looking woman seemed to have been bullied by a bully. This caused the surrounding crowd to be overwhelmed with horror and quickly dispersed. At the same time, Xu Qing's cold voice entered the ears of the trembling woman. "If you shout one more time, it'll tear your mouth apart." Xu Qing's learning and imitation abilities were just as good as his memory.